So today's video is a bit different as I'm interviewing someone very successful. I got to sit down and talk to Mack Major. He is in the real estate business. He's also in the lending business. I believe he has a construction company as well. And overall, he's a superstar entrepreneur with over 25 years of experience in the real estate industry. You know, he's made multiple millions of dollars doing real estate, also made a lot of money in the 2008 recession. And overall, someone that has just learned a lot about entrepreneurship and just learned a lot about business. And in this video, he actually goes ahead and drops all that knowledge, talks about his life experiences, talks about some of the biggest things he's learned. And I'm gonna tell you guys something, you know, just me doing this call with him changed my life, as I thought it was just gonna take us an hour to do this video, but you know, we were on a call from 1 to 4:30 and we made 2 videos in total. And overall, I learned so much. I am just so excited to actually meet him in person and even make a video with him and collab in person. So yeah, hope you guys enjoy the videos. If you guys do, like I said, enjoy what he had to say and thought you guys got value from it, please go follow him on Instagram at @MackMajor_REI. I'm gonna even put it up on the screen and also put all of his information in the description. But hope you guys enjoy this video. I have another video with him coming out very soon. This is where we talk about the 2008 recession and what he's doing to prepare for the next recession. So yeah, hope you guys enjoy this video. Like, comment, subscribe. If you guys want more of these type of videos, I will be making them, as I'm going to be interviewing more of my successful friends as I go. And you know, I have this idea of starting this podcast called Keeping It Real, which I'm about to do very soon. So yeah, hope you guys like it. See you guys later. Bye. Welcome back to my YouTube channel, everybody. And today the video is a bit different, as I am actually here with someone else, and I'm going to introduce him in a second. But I basically wanted to start a series where I, bring in successful entrepreneurs, people with experience, people who keep it real, people that do not, fake stuff, and bring them on to give real advice, talk about their experience, about their entrepreneur journey, and basically give you guys information and advice that can help you while you're going through your own journey as an entrepreneur, or your own self-development, in your own personal self-development journey. So today I have with me Mack Major, and we got connected through a friend of mine, and I've gotten to know him a little bit, and he is what I would also like to call a superstar entrepreneur, someone who has been doing this for a while, someone who does a lot of different things, very successful. And I kind of brought him on to basically, I genuinely want to know a little bit more about him as well. I just met him recently, right? So I'm genuinely curious to learn more about him, learn more about his story, hear any advice he has to give. So, without further ado, Mack, why don't you just go ahead and introduce yourself to the people, tell them about yourself, what you do, and we can get started from there.
So, hello everyone. I appreciate Splashman you giving me the opportunity to talk to your audience and to let them know exactly what I do and my journey, because I believe, my journey, just like many, I started from humble beginnings. I started, I grew up on the west side of Detroit, and grew up basically in a single parent household. And my mom, did her very best to make sure that we had the right schooling. And so I went to the right schools. I went to Catholic schools throughout, all of my youth. I went to school, I really went to school for sports, to be honest. I got a lot of scholarships when I was in school, but it was for sports. And so I grew up in the inner city of Detroit. And so these Catholic high schools or Catholic schools would bring in these inner city kids, and kind of give us a scholarship. It wasn't really, you weren't really supposed to do it, but they were trying to develop their sports program. So so I was there to play sports, but the thing is I caught the bug of learning early on and how important education was. And so even though I went to school for sports, by the time I got to be about a junior in high school, basically I stopped sports. Even though I was on a scholarship, they really couldn't kick me out of school, because at that point in time, it was like one of those things where you let me in because I was into sports, and you can't kick me out because I'm not, because then it would be a flag. So with all of that said, the reason I'm saying all of that is because there started to be a new leaf, and that new leaf that turned over for me was that even though I saw the glitz and the glam of being an athlete, I had some intrigue about education and what education and where it could actually take me. It might get me there a lot slower maybe, but it was going to get me there. So long story short, even though I did my senior year, I still got the bug for sports. I went back and played, played football my last year. But I knew that sports was probably outside of my realm, not because I wasn't a good athlete, but because I didn't really like the system. Even when I was a younger child, I didn't like the system that was going to keep me. So I was a captain. So all throughout high school, I was a captain, but I was being held responsible for people who I didn't have control over. Like, guys were getting their names cut in their hair, or their numbers cut in their hair. And at that early age, they were like, well, you're responsible, you're the captain, and you can't allow that to happen. So even though I was a leader, I had to figure out how to be able to influence people. We had people coming from, remember, these were inner city kids that were
Mhm.
coming in that were used to kind of doing their own things, and now they were thrown in this Catholic, this regimented environment that they had to grow and develop. And the reason I'm giving you guys all this background is because everybody comes from a different place. And when people come from a different place and they're all brought together, how do we all work together? How do we have a common goal or a common theme? And sometimes we're not going to always have that. But through collaboration is kind of what we're doing right now. We
Mhm.
have a younger gentleman who's in his 20s, and I'm in my 50s. And so when you come together, you have to find a common goal. And so what I would say to that is, us coming together, we wanted to win. I mean, our goal was to win, but I don't believe in the survival skills of the urban neighborhoods. It was just survival. It wasn't about necessarily winning. It was about surviving and who's the toughest, who's the baddest. So when
Mhm.
you have all of these talented people that came into the school, but we had no clear direction. And our coaches are those people who were supposed to direct us along our path.
Mhm.
And if we don't have good coaches and good educators, even though we may be the most talented people, without that clear direction, it was for nothing. Because we had the most talented guys in the city playing on one team, but we had no coordination between that. So when we talk about collaboration between me and you and all of these other talented people, it's being able to educate these people in the right way to get them to their goal. And so
Mhm.
even though we had the most talented individuals, we didn't have the most successful team because there
Right.
is no I in team. And so based on my journey, I learned at a very early age that you can have all the talent in the world, but you can still be unsuccessful. And so what I did is I started trying to hone my skills. And so I went through my Catholic high school, graduated with a 4.2 GPA because I had all my senior year, I had all college courses. So you get an extra bump in your GPA.
Mhm.
And then I got a scholarship to go into medicine. I realized early on that full ride to a 4-year university, but I found out at an early age I didn't really like blood. And so I was just it was just gore to me. And so I chose the next best thing, which was engineering. So I went in, I got a full ride to Michigan. Well, I got a full ride to Wayne State, which is kind of a local college, but a good medical college. And I decided, but I wanted to go to Michigan State, which was an hour away from home. Wayne State was at home. And so I just went to school. I went and I went to school. I had to take out student loans. So I went from a place where I literally had a full ride, no book. I didn't have to pay for books, room and board, didn't have to pay for college. And I chose to go to a different school, which was Michigan State, because I wanted that experience to grow and to be away from my house and to see what that environment. And so that environment became my network
Mhm.
of people, because being in my same little town got me around the same people that were doing the same things. And so when you
Mhm.
try to, you have to realize, I realized that I had to expand. I had to move away from home. I had to get a whole new audience of people that I thought that were gonna shape. I didn't know how impactful that was. I was going there for the education, but I knew other things would come. So even though I got a great education, I graduated with a 3.38, 3.9 from Michigan State in mechanical engineering, where most people were falling off. They couldn't handle it.
Mhm.
And so, the goal was to go get a corporate job and do corporate things, get married, have kids, at 25, and, buy a house and do all the rest of it. But in school, I learned so many different things. Like, when I went to school, while I was in school, I was probably making as much money as when I got out of school, because I started to be a professional model when I was
Mm.
in school, which was a different, I mean, I had never thought, I mean, this tough, what I would say a tough athlete then becomes this model. And I traveled. So when I, with that said, I mean, I was making $1,500 a day being a
Whoa.
model. So
Whoa.
when I was in college, so I would
That's a lot
drive
of
down.
money. Wow.
That, I mean, that was, I mean, back then, $1,500 a day. And like I said, for me, it was a difference in what I was actually, I mean, most kids on campus were, working at McDonald's or Burger King or in the student center. And so for me, I was meeting people and seeing a different lifestyle. So by the time I was a senior in school, I had a couple great friends that actually took notes for me. They would actually teach me. And the crazy thing about it, Splash Man, is that I have a good friend. His name is Derek Jaggers. And I actually spoke to him last night, not related to this, but so Derek would go to class, and Derek was probably one of the most methodical person. I mean, when he did a problem, you could see the formulas in the air. I don't know if it's like the Matrix or
Yeah.
something, where you could actually see them, see everything in the air. And his mind was brilliant. But the crazy part about it is that I have a way to learn fairly quickly. And me
Mhm.
learning quickly allows me to adapt to changing environments. So he would come in and he would teach me the night before, because I would be traveling, literally doing modeling shoots, runway shows and shoots and all the rest of it. And he's like, and he never asked me to pay him. He never asked me anything. We would go in, and the next day he would wind up getting a B or a C, and I get an A on it.
Wow.
And and you may say, well, Mac, you did it because you were smart. And I would say, no, I had a great coach. I had a great teacher. And so
Mhm.
even though there was things that I needed to look for that triggered other things in my mind, and even though he may have known this process, some people are better teachers than they are at performing. And I don't, there's people who are boxers, who are MMA people, who probably are dancers. They can coach you, but they may have lost their skill, they may have lost their talent because of age or injury or whatever else there is.
Mhm.
And so this goes back to the education and the constant, just how having the right teacher can shape and mold you. And so, yeah, he wasn't my professor, but he was my tutor, my coach, my whatever else. And I would go in there and ace these things, because he taught me where the key,
Mhm.
what to look for. If they say this triggers this, which triggers this formula, which triggers this. And so in engineering, there's a series of things that you have to follow to get you to the answer. And the same thing in real life. There's all of these things that lead you down one path or the other that you
Mhm.
have to go through. And it teaches you a thought process more so than anything. And I believe even probably with your course or my course, we're teaching things that trigger certain things for you to understand why this is important, which triggers something else that has some type of lead generation, that has some type of follow-up and some type of sequence. And
Yeah.
so when you start to understand that all of these things that we do trigger different things, then it makes people understand these concepts a lot easier. And so therefore they can execute and they get results from them. And so with all of that said, I think it's important. So my journey started with school, and then right after school, I was successful in school. I took a little bit of time off and I traveled the world to model. I went to Japan. I went to
Wow.
to Italy. So all the big fashion places around the world, New York. So I mean, literally, I traveled everywhere. I took 1 year off, and then I went back to. I was gone and I was away from everybody for a long time. I mean, so fortunately or unfortunately, I'm an individual. I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't do anything. So it was very hard for me to be away and not party, because I remember being an engineer and an athlete. I was very disciplined. I worked out during the day. I studied throughout the evening. Then I got my rest, and the day started all over again. So being away from home, being around the world, having opportunities to see the world was a wonderful thing. But I went back to my corporate job, and when I got back, I spent a year out. Went back to my corporate job because they waited for me with my job, which was a great thing. But they did it because I interviewed so well and I had so many different work experiences. Every summer, I had an internship at a different company, a Fortune 100 company, doing engineering work every year. So, I mean,
Hmm.
I had work life, I had my modeling, which is kind of my social, but I was still making money. So I stayed diversified even when I was in college. So I was going to college,
Wow.
modeling. I mean, so you stay diversified. And when I say diversified, this is where it comes in when I talk about diversification of your financial freedom. You got to be diversified in different. So I had different income streams. Even though I had my summer job, I still was modeling. I still was on a scholarship from the companies. So let me go back to say that even though I took my first year, I said, you know what, I'm going to pay for my own education because I believe in it. By the time I was done with my first year and I had been successful my first year, there was a college counselor came and said, well, you know, Mac, you've done exceptionally well. What program are you in? What do you plan on doing? I'm like, well, I'm going into engineering. And there was a minority program for engineers. And they're like, well, why aren't you in this program? I'm like, I didn't even know about it. And he was like, well, let me see your grades and all the rest of it. So he saw my grades and he was like, you know what? I'm gonna get you a scholarship. And not
Hmm.
only so so not only did I get a scholarship, he actually went back and gave me a scholarship for my next several years that I was there. He went back and paid for my first year of school as well.
Wow.
And,
Wow.
and that goes because he said that this guy came in, and not only that, I was in there, I was helping out other individuals that needed help that I didn't even know that there was a program and what was going on. So all I'm saying to to you is that when you do good by others, it comes back. It
Mm.
does.
Mhm.
It really does come back. It's just like you and I speaking, and we're collaborating on things right now. We're paying forward for all of those people that are out there, and that's kind of how I got into the real estate game. So, like I said, I went to finished up corporate America, was in corporate America, and then what I did is a buddy of mine said, you know what, Mac? So, at my age, his grandmother, a buddy of ours, his grandmother had passed. And when his grandmother passed, unfortunately, she left the house to him. And so there were
Okay.
so many people that he received this house and the taxes hadn't been paid. The roof was in, needed to be repaired. There were so many things that needed to be repaired because his aging grandmother didn't have the money or the know-how to get things done. And
Hmm.
so he was like, excuse me, he was like, Mac, I need money for the taxes or they're going to take the property. So I wound up giving him money for the taxes. And he said, you know what, I'm going to
Wow.
fix the property up and I'm going to refinance the property and then I'm going to give you your money back. I would say about 3 months into it, he was like, Mac, there's so much. I mean, I've gotten estimates to do this property. It's going to cost me an arm and a leg. And we're good friends and I don't want us to be at odds about this money. Just take the property because it's not worth what it's going to cost me to fix it. And so at that point in time, me and my best friend, we were just getting ready to buy a hardware store. So this is before Home Depot and Lowe's and all the rest
Hmm.
of those. We actually had a neighborhood hardware store that we used to work at when we were in high school. And so we were in the process of buying it. And that we had learned throughout the years how to, put in hot water tanks and change vanities and redo kitchens and bathrooms. We had been doing that because people were coming into the hardware store buying supplies from us. Now, did we really, really know how to do it? The answer was no. But over time, we just learned how to do it. So, long story short, he winds up giving us the property back. We spend about, so I was still in, I had just finished up, I would say I was in corporate America, was finishing up an assignment. And so we got this property back and we started fixing this property up. And when we fixed it up, we couldn't sell it at first.
Hmm.
This was in the early 2000s that that we started kind of doing properties. When I say 2000s, it's kind of like 1999. Now, don't get me wrong, we had bought properties and sold properties before that, but when we really started getting our hands dirty, what I would say, and literally buying properties and fixing them up, it must have been like 99. I think it was like around 99, 1999. I don't know if you were even born.
I wasn't.
Yeah, so
This is
that's the
crazy.
crazy. Yeah, so it's
Yeah.
crazy. Around 99 is when we actually start, getting our hands dirty in the properties. And so all of that said was, we fixed the property up, we rented it, and about 2 months into it, a guy came to us and said, you know what, we want to buy that property. We have family members that live on that street. I gave the guy $3,400, and then me and my partner at that point in time, we probably spent about $6,000 to get the property like in condition to be able to sell it, and we wound up selling it for $52,000.
Oh, wow.
And so we made we made about 40 grand on that particular property. And I was like, you know what? And so, but one of the main things that comes from this that I want to say is that it stems from us really. I went out trying to help someone. And so I think just like you and I today, when we try to educate people, it's about helping people. It's about
100%.
helping them reach their goals. Now, at that point in time, did I really know that I was going to be into real estate like I am now by trying to help someone else? No. But me helping somebody else actually afforded me the opportunity to be where I am now through helping
Yes.
someone. And
Yep.
so, and the crazy thing about it, I'm going to say this about when we talk about, so I've been doing martial arts just as long, if not longer, than I've been flipping properties. And the reason that I got into martial arts is because I went to this fair, the science fair, where you actually teach inner city kids about science to get them inspired. Like, you don't have to worry about, stealing or, and I'm sorry, it's a function that's stereotypical, that you don't have to get into drugs and selling drugs and stealing and being a criminal, but there's other things out there like science and martial arts. And so they had so I worked for a corporate at that point in time, and they were saying, Matt, can you go talk to these inner city kids? And so as I'm sitting here trying to get all of these kids interested in science, I'm looking across to the booth that's across from me, and there's this guy teaching these kids martial arts. And so that really, even though I had taken it long, before, but me being in that situation, anybody who knows me knows that I love martial arts and I've been involved in it for a number of years. But through me trying to help kids is when I saw across the room, and it opened my eyes up
Mm-hmm.
to a different thing on martial arts. And so it's been a staple in my life since then, because I was there helping out other people. So every time that I've helped out someone, Splash Man, it's always come back 1,000-fold.
100%.
And so that's
100%.
why, and so for me, when we talk about what I do now, so you asked me, Mac, what do you do now? You've been in corporate America, you've been great, you did great. I mean, I have a master's in business. So when I went to work in corporate America, I went and got my master's in business and finance. Because I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to make sure that I had an engineering background along with a financial background, and I wanted to marry those two together to have the technical mind plus the financial mind to make sure that I was one step ahead always in my competition.
Yep.
But when I was in corporate America, the one thing that I realized is that I can't rely on one source of income. I was seeing people that were coming in that were good at what they were doing, but they were being passed over based on relationships. These relationships cause people to get promotions versus you putting in hard work and getting your return. And some people were being let go where other people were able to keep their jobs. And I'm like, I'm not going to be that guy who falls out of favor with someone because the color of my skin or the
Mm-hmm.
school, the religion that I am, or that they just don't like me. And so so one of the biggest things that I wanted to do, and that's why I love, the millennials, because you guys are so much everybody's an individual, where before corporations would build, they wanted clones of people, they wanted to, like Ford was like, you can buy any color car, and you may not even know the slogan, but you can buy any color Model T as long as it's black. And so basically all they produced was black cars, because it was like, there is no, everybody's going to have the same thing. And that's what they were trying to do, is produce colognes. And so
Wow.
for me, I learned at a very early age that I'm an individual, and it's going to be hard for you to put me in a box.
Mm-hmm.
And so having dual incomes, or having multiple streams of income, was very important to me, very, very important. And so when you ask me, what do I do today? So today, I'm a real estate entrepreneur. And so what I do is my main primary business right now is I lend money to investors that are interested in single family homes from 1 to 4 units in smaller multi-family units. So I lend money. I have a wholesale business. I have a regular real estate business, which I do very little with. So I usually work with distressed assets. I'm always loaning money, putting deals together on distressed assets. Distressed assets are those, it could be divorce, it could be death, it could be, landlords that are evicting people, things that are in distress that are in need of attention. Um,
Mhm.
and so because there's that value proposition in those properties, you have to put in a little bit of work to get a lot of reward out of them. And then there's the education piece. And so one of the main reasons that I'm into the education piece, Splashman, and I think this is why we both are, is
Yep.
because I see so many people make mistakes every day. And
Yeah.
so for me, I find these distressed assets, I'll put these distressed assets in front of these people that they can go in with the proper financing, with the proper direction, and they can come out and they can make money. So when I say that, the average American, the the average income is $30,000 for a single person. So I
Wow.
mean, when you and so when you say a couple, $60,000 a year is the average income for a family, a family of two. So that's two incomes. So to me, if I can get you to come in and so just say this: if you do have a regular job and you're getting your
Mhm.
regular income, 78% of people live paycheck to paycheck. 90%, I mean, and so when you think of that, and
Wow.
then over 90% of people, you know, are are 2 months from going literally belly up. I mean, so when you think about the population and how they manage their money and what they do with it, it's so important for everyone to understand that if you don't plan appropriately, you could fail in a week to a month and you will have nothing else coming in. So my goal was to make sure that people had another source of income. And when you flip a property, you can make $20,000. I mean, on $100,000 property, you can make $20,000 to $30,000 per flip. And you can do this every 3 to 4 months. But what I
Mhm.
found out is that most people, they make so many mistakes that instead of them making money, they won't.
Sorry, there was a quick little, technical difficulty as we are doing this meeting through Zoom. However, however, he ended off. You were talking about the importance of having more than one source of income, and I remember you were talking a little bit more about like the household families, paycheck to paycheck, and
Yeah, exactly. So with most people living paycheck to paycheck, for me, I never wanted to be in that situation, nor do I want those people who are around me to be in that situation at all. So I think the goal is for me was to always be able to create an opportunity and another stream of income. And so with people being able to do flip properties, like I said, I've set up people with so many great deals, and I've seen them mess up great deals because when you go in, my biggest thing for people who really know me and around me, I always tell them to begin with the end in mind. And so people are like, well, what is, I mean, I hear you, but it's like, you just don't just start doing something. And don't get me wrong, I want people to do something as opposed to doing nothing, but I don't want them to start investing their money and doing things
oh wow, no,
that they don't. I mean, you're basically just going to be throwing money away into the air. And so when I say begin with the end in mind, if you don't know, you have to go to someone who knows. And you have
hundred
to go
percent.
to someone, that you trust, or someone who knows somebody that they trust. Because when you just go out there, it's like, I think I've heard you talk before about, well, who do you know to even go to trust to research about what course do you want to take and who is this a good person? Should I give my money to this person or that person? And there's so many fly by night people out there that are out there just trying to scheme and scam people to put money in their pockets. And so for me, I see this all the time, even with contractors. So when you're doing a real estate project, you begin with the end in mind. You understand what the comps are. You understand how much money it costs you to get into it. You understand what your timeline, how long is the construction project, who is your contractor, what should you do in the area so you don't over improve areas, because people, they get into these projects and they see stuff on TV like, you know, they see these flipping shows and people are going in there, it's like, oh, I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna do that. And you wind up over improving a house for the area. So you can't sell it for the amount of money that you want to sell it for. And so there's so many things that you need to be educated about before you start this process. And so
100%.
what you and I were talking about previously is that, you know, you're going to pay one way or the other. And so when we say you're going to pay, we want you to pay. We want you to be educated on this, on the, whatever you're doing, we want you to be educated on it. And so when we say that you're going to pay anyway, now don't get me wrong, if you're able to go through a project and you're able to make money, more power to you. I'm glad that you were able to do it, but that's not the norm. It's like the fine print on something that you see, like when somebody gets exceptional results and you see the fine print says, well, this happens with 1 out of a million people, that you're actually going to be able to do that. And so what we want you to do is we want you to be prepared for every situation that comes up. And the reason that I always bring up martial arts into my dialogue, and you don't know me well, but so what I tell everyone is that I can teach you a black belt move, but you're not a black belt. And so a lot of times people, you know, you may know that move in that certain scenario, but what about all of the other thousands of black belt moves that are out there that you don't know? And so you may be able to function in that particular situation and do well because Mack taught me that. But but things are fluid. They change every day. They change constantly. So with things changing constantly, if you're not on your game and you're not learning on a regular basis, you're gonna get your butt kicked. I mean, and that's what people do. They get their butt kicked financially. And we're trying to prevent you from doing that. And so, you know, and when I say you're going to pay now or you're going to pay later, same thing goes with that. You can be in the gym and you can learn different moves every day, or you can go out there and try to use the same move. It's like using a hammer when you need a screwdriver. It's not going to work. You know, it's not going to work. And so don't get me wrong. And that's why I tell people, you may have been successful in that flip or without using my methodology, but that's because that called for a hammer all the time. But what if you need vice grips or you need a screwdriver or you need a saw? I mean, so we want to make sure that all of those things that that go into your tool bag actually provide you the correct preparation for the future. And I think that's what we're trying to do for
100%.
people. And we want to see them successful. We want to see them successful.
Yeah, just from what you've said so far, I was writing some notes down as well, like on different topics we can touch on. And I mean, I let you keep on going because I was learning so much, like I was telling you, you know. Some things that I loved that you said was the importance of the environment, right? I know you briefly touched on it, but that is such an important thing. And I've noticed this with not only me, but with my friends, right? So I grew up in a small town as well. And honestly, the big change came in my life when I actually went to California for the first time, like really expanding my mind and really getting to see like wealth wealth in real life. Because where I'm from, if you have a BMW or Mercedes, whoa, like that's crazy, right? Now I'm in California, everybody's driving these cars. You're seeing Lamborghini goes by, you're seeing like mansions, and you know, that really expanded my mind. And just like you, that's the main reason I went to a university right downtown, right, you know, in the heart of downtown. And I went for that reason, for the environment, because I want to meet people like that. I want to expand my mind. I wanted to be in that fast-paced environment as well. And I really like that you touched on that. And, you know, we can even go deeper on that. But the main thing you've been talking about so far is literally the importance of basically investing in yourself and learning from the right person. Because you just said you're going to pay for it anyway. Why not pay a little bit up front, get the right help, right? And you even said early on, you had someone that took your notes for you, had it organized for you. So you didn't have to kind of go ahead and do it yourself, right? I mean, people can, whatever, you know, I guess people can learn, or there's some things they can, but I mean, everything is online at the end of the day. They can go spend their own time, spend their own money learning through it. But why wouldn't you just want it organized in one space from someone who's done it, right? And that's the person I am as well. I'm guessing you are as well. Like if it's something serious for me, I find out someone that's already done it and I pay them for it, right? Like
exactly. I mean, and that's so the thing is so one of the things that I would say to you is that we have an age gap. I'm 50, you're in your 20s. So for me, the biggest part about that is when I grew up, we didn't have The internet wasn't the internet. We didn't have the internet.
This would never be possible. This would never be possible unless I knew you personally.
Exactly. So that's the only way our relationship, I would have known you through someone, which I do know you through someone, but but it would have been through my associate's son. You would be, you'd be down the chain, and it would be probably hard for us to get together where now I can see what you do. I can see your technology. We can share things. We can get a, so there was no Zoom calls. There were none of these things that currently that we do now. And so I think it's so important right now that people realize that you got to take advantage of the opportunities that are here.
100%.
And so for me, when we talk about the expansiveness of the network, and so for me, even I even talk about, so someone in my situation, I'm 50 years old. I wouldn't come to a 20-year-old guy to collaborate with. You know what I'm saying? It's like,
Yeah.
listen, I'm going to be teaching you what you need to do to navigate so you don't get in trouble. But because this new generation, you guys have technology and you have resources that you guys have at your fingertips. It's not necessarily that I don't have them at my fingertips. I just, because of where I'm at, I mean, I would have to go learn. I would have to go learn. So this is what we talk about. I'd have to go learn what you do. You know
Yeah,
what I'm
I
saying?
mean, just begin before this call, I was telling you like different advice on your own stuff you're doing, right? Like some things that you were when it came to your marketing and when it came to your online marketing presence, I'm like, hey, I have some tips for you that I think could really help you, right? So
Exactly.
it's like not only me learning from you, it's like both ways because you have your strengths and now I have
Yeah,
my strengths, and as a business owner, you don't have time to go learn a new skill, have to figure all this out, right?
I don't.
Instead, we got this where it's like, back and forth helping each other out as well.
Exactly. And so that brings so much more value in the time to get things to market. So that's what
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying. Back in the day, I had to learn this process painful step by painful step because there was nobody who I knew that was doing. Now, don't get me wrong, all of the terminology that we use of wholesaling and lending and private, all of that none of this is not anything that's new, like in real estate, but how it's utilized and how it's communicated is, because I was doing this stuff back. Now it's a trend and it's a fad now, but I was doing that before the terminology was kind of even really out there and people were really doing it. So
Mm-hmm.
um, and so what I would say is your things are fairly new, because when you talk about the technology is advancing so quickly, and
Mm-hmm.
you and the younger generation have that. And so it's like, why would I go out there? I don't, if I'm still working with, it's just like I think I was talking to my son a few minutes ago. He was like, well, what was that old thing that people used to use? They weren't calculators. They were called slide rules. And probably you probably don't even know what a slide rule is. Instead of it being a calculator, they used to use a slide rule to do calculations. So as
Wow.
things have changed throughout the course of history, we have to change with them. And that's when that
Yeah.
collaboration comes in. So I utilize my nephew, and I'm using, I'm working with you now because I want to be technologically advanced and get myself further. And this is where these collaborations in this, when it comes to paying for courses or whatever else. I mean, as you see, right now, me and my nephew are sharing information back and forth, and so we always do this collaborative process where we're always working together. And I think it's so great for those people who are out there to see this connection. And there's other connections that I will lead you to some of my people, and you'll lead me to some of your people.
100%.
We're just going to grow our network, and our network is going to be our net worth. It's just the
100%.
way it
If there's
works.
one thing I know to be true in life is like how important it is for you to have a really strong network and be connected with a lot of people, because like you said, just knowing some of my mentors, just knowing, me investing in them, it's helped me so much. I literally credit 99% of my success to my current mentor. Right. And if I didn't, like, I would have to spend my own time figuring it out, own energy, like spend more money long term to do that. But now just pay him, get it done. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And then plus, like, now, like you said, because of online, we have an opportunity where we can meet people like that. He is 10 years, 15 years ahead of me. You can't just you can't just like before, you couldn't just buy that type of access, right?
Yeah.
Now you actually have an opportunity, like because of this online stuff, to actually be able to do this.
Yeah, I mean,
Take advantage.
I'm in California. You're in Toronto.
Toronto, yeah.
You know, and so we get a chance to see each other, and so before, you know, it's not only that, it's the cost of doing. So the cost of doing business
Oh my
has
God.
gone down tremendously at this point in time. So instead of me getting on a flight just to come see you, and it cost me $1,000 to come see you, now I can actually put $1,000 towards working with you and investing into my business with you.
Yeah.
And so that was just the introduction. That is not even including the business side of it. So now with us having the ability, well, I can see what's on your screen, you can see what's on my screen. It makes it where it makes our lives easier. So I don't have, and so not only that, so it's the ease, the convenience. Now I can spend my money on more important things versus me coming out to meet you for the first time just to see if we even like each other.
Yeah,
You know
that is
saying?
true.
And so there's so many things that have changed with technology. And now that we know that we want to work with each other, we can send data back and forth. We can get on Zoom calls.
Any
And
day,
now
anytime, right? Like cost effective.
we can put our money where it's most valued at that point in time. And so
100%.
that comes into the educate, like I said, to the education piece. I'd rather spend $1,000 with you to get my business further than me just coming to see you, to have dinner with you, to meet you at, you know.
To even see if you like or to even want to work with me or not, right?
Exactly. So with that said, I mean, there's so many things. And so when we talk about, you know, the real estate market right now.
That's what I want to get into next, actually. So one thing you said was, and I really, really like this, how you had a full ride to, to a school for medicine, but you took a risk and you said, you know what, I don't want to do that. Let me just do something that I think I truly want to do. And one thing I've noticed, and I've been studying a lot of entrepreneurs, and I've also, since having a course, I get to basically have an advantage and get to see like the successful people and the pattern and the and the habits of the successful people that succeed with my course versus the ones I don't. And another thing I've been realizing is a big factor is also risk taking, right? Like how important it is to actually take risk. And you doing that, I mean, in the long run, paid off. And I guess to kind of go talk about real estate, you were talking about how even when you worked a corporate job, you still made sure to go out of your way, take risk, and start something else as well. And was it real estate? Were you doing real estate, still working corporate job?
So what I did is, when I really, really got heavy into real estate is when I had a corporate job and I was doing a sales job. So I was selling a product. And so I would, and so as I mentioned to you before, when I was in school, I mean, I was fairly smart. So I set up a process and a system where I would get up, I would go talk to all my clients or call my clients. And then after I spoke to them, that allowed me at that point in time after that to be able to, that allowed me to go really do my other job. So I would work maybe three to 6 hours doing my full-time job, and then after that I would go do real estate up until like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. So that's what I was doing. I mean, that's what I did. I burned candles at both ends to make sure that I was successful. And so don't get me wrong, I had to do the corporate job because that was going to pay my bills, that was going to give me insurance.
Right.
That was my security, that was my safety net. And I did my safety net for about 20 years. But I made more money in real estate than I did in my corporate job. So when I started to once I got up to, so I was then a vice president of sales and marketing. I used to come to Mississauga all the time because there was.
Oh, wow. That's my hometown. That's where I grew up.
Yeah, so I went there all the time because a lot of the companies that I work with were in Canada.
Awesome.
But as I became a manager and a vice president of sales and marketing, I was traveling around the world, and it kept me away from my passion. And when you go away from your passion, your flame starts to decrease. You stop wanting to get up and work, and and I was like, that fire was leaving me. And so what I decided to do is even though I was making great money in corporate America, literally traveling around the world, company car, company expense, golf course memberships, tickets to go see any Pistons, Lions, even though Lions are not good, Red Wings. I mean, I had tickets to go to every sporting event, whether it was in the state of Michigan or anywhere, because I had clients everywhere. Going to Super Bowls and all the rest of it. I gave it all up. You know why? Because my passion
Mm-hmm.
was not that fire inside of me was not being fulfilled. I was not fulfilled, even though I was making good money. And my passion was real estate.
Mm-hmm.
And I gave up, like I said, I spent my own money. I spent my own time. I was out in the hood. When I'm talking about in the hood, I would leave my job, corporate job at 2, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, 4 o'clock, go to Home Depot or Lowe's, go pick up supplies. And I would have my butt locked in that house with me and a couple buddies until 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. And I did that every day. So I
Mm-hmm.
was actually selling a property a month, making about $30,000 to $40,000 a
Wow.
month just from that piece. And so then I had my corporate job, and so I went from 30 to 40 to 40 to 50, 50 to 60 $1,000 a month because I was churning out properties every month.
Yeah.
I was doing that. I was doing that probably for 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but I was burning my candle at both ends. But I knew that I couldn't rely on that one job. And then, so not only could I not rely on that one job wasn't my passion either.
Mm-hmm.
And so and so in 2010 is when I decided, you know what, I'm done. I'm done with corporate.
Yeah.
It's taking me away from what my passion is, my fire is, my fulfillment, my life's fulfillment is not being met. This
Yeah.
is what I love doing. And not only that, so once I started doing that, I was actually making money and helping people at the same time. What could be better?
Yeah, that's like, what I mean? And that's why I love the business I am in as well, is like making money, literally helping people. I have people like, I mean, I'm guessing same with you, people literally coming saying, wow, you changed my life. And that is worth so much more than a wire transfer or a check from something, for me at least, like
Yeah,
that means so much more when someone like literally tells me that, oh, you've helped me with this. And now, I quit my job, this, that, or whatever.
yeah,
And that's pretty, like, there's a really, really cool subject you touched on about just not doing something for money only, but also like your passion, your fulfillment, like your true drive. Because at the end of the day, it's like, you're not really living if you are doing something that you don't really like just for money, right? Like that's a position I don't want anyone to be in. And I've been there, you've been there, a lot
yeah,
of people are in there right now.
yeah,
And I think this topic honestly is a perfect conversation, especially right now. Like you said, 78% of people live paycheck to paycheck.
yeah,
They literally physically can't work right now. So we're gonna, right, who knows when
yeah,
this ends, right? Who knows what's gonna happen? So many people losing the job, so many, rent still due, people still gotta eat, there's still bills to be paid. So I guess the people watching, I really just kind of want to dial this down in their head, how important it actually is, and how
yeah,
you don't really have to, like, you can do this while you're working a job. Like you did it. You said you worked at corporate
yes,
20 years, right?
yeah,
It's not like, oh, don't use your job as an excuse. Still make it happen. Or you made it happen, not made excuses. Like you did it while you're working your job, right? Like, and
exactly,
I think that is some awesome stuff right there. Is like, just being the proof that you don't have to use your job, your family thing as an excuse to not start something.
exactly. And so I think there's 1,000 excuses of why you can't do it.
100%.
I had a very high profile job. It wasn't like I had a job that allowed me to be in a lab with nobody around me or whatever else. I mean, I had a highly interactive job where I had customers that were calling me constantly
Mhm.
about where's my shipment, what's going on with this, I have a new development, I have this. So I'm coordinating all of these things that happen. And remember, even though that we had cell phones, remember this was in the late 90s, early 2000s.
Oh,
We
wow.
weren't, I mean, you think that but cell phones, I mean, bills were extremely expensive. So I had to be accessible to these people. I had to get on the computer. And we didn't have hotspots back then. You had to have a hard connection
Yeah.
to do it. And so I mean, to make stuff happen, and you have to be at two places at one time to make sure that when your boss called. So they used to have this thing where and they have it now, where you'd have to be logged in. So if you work from home, you had to be logged in, and they track that your computer was logged. So I had to have my computer logged in. They'd be like, I sent you an email. Did you get it? I'm like, you know what? No, my VPN must have shut down. Let me check it out or whatever else. So I'm not trying to say that people should kind of, mess up their main full-time gig, but you can make this happen.
100%.
And I did, like I said, I did it for 20 plus years on working, having this dual career. But it's a necessity. It's not only that you should do it for, and so one of the things I always promote is generational wealth. I think it's important. I think it's so important that it's not just for me today. It's for my kids and their kids and their kids. We want to create something that creates a legacy. A legacy is not necessarily only money, but giving them the opportunity, because I want them to have the money, but I want them to understand that it took hard work to get that money and what it takes to maintain to keep that money. And so I would like to leave, like, one of the reasons that I chose real estate is because real estate is always, I mean, you live somewhere right now, okay? I live somewhere right now.
No matter what happens, you have to live somewhere. It's a human necessity.
It's a necessity. And not only that, if we didn't have this virus going around right now, everybody would be hustling and bustling, going from one place to the next place to the next place. They'd be going to a restaurant or to a library. No matter where they're going, you got to leave one place and go to somewhere else. And so real estate is a tangible asset that's going to be there forever. When
forever.
I say, even if that building isn't there, that land is going to be there, and that land is worth something. And so even people, some of the richest people in the world, they own dirt, and that dirt may be a parking lot. It may be a park. It may be.
I own some dirt in Nepal right now, literally a field of dirt.
But the bottom line is I mean, there could be tax credits. There could be, like I said, there's like in major, if you owned a parking lot in New York or downtown Toronto or whatever, I mean, you know what I'm saying? You're making some serious dough off a lot that has concrete on it. Okay.
Literally just a little spot.
Exactly. You're making some serious dough off of it. So one of the biggest things that I say is, people may debate about what's the right investment. Do you do Bitcoin? Do you do gold? Do you do silver? Do you do real estate? You know what? To me, it doesn't really matter what you do. It really doesn't. Just be good at what you do and make sure that you understand that market. And if you don't understand that market, don't just go with the fad, because the fad will screw you, because you don't know. And so you go to those people who are either gurus or professionals that have some type of track record, that
mentors, right?
You need a mentor, you need a coach to say what is the right thing to do. And it's okay not to know everything. And I think so many times people are scared to ask. I mean, it's those people who don't succeed because they're scared to raise their hand in class. Like, I don't understand, can you explain it to me? But it's okay if you don't understand in the class, but don't let the opportunity pass you, teacher or that a teaching assistant, after that class, and say, you know what, I was too afraid to raise my hand in class, but I want some clarification. I want to understand, because you understanding it actually opens the door for enlightenment, where now you understand. You're not looking at it here. You're actually looking at it through this lens, where it becomes more wide open. And that's where in real estate, when I was looking at, so I used to flip properties. So when I flipped properties, my window was this wide, Splash Man. It was this wide.
Wow.
And I'll tell you it was this wide is because you're going every day to a property to do one thing every day. Okay, I got to put in the kitchen today. I got to put in the bathroom today. And so then when I started to wholesale properties, my vision became to get wider, because and not only that, I'm locked into a house that has 4 walls. Okay. Now, when I'm starting to wholesale and flip, now I'm flipping a property. Now I'm wholesaling a property. Now I'm seeing all the properties that are in the area and what's going on with these properties. How's the market changing? All the rest of it, because I'm out there seeing, and I'm not locked into one house. Then I went from wholesaling to lending. And then when I went to lending to looking at multifamily, then I went to education. You can't even see, all you can see is the base of my arms now. Now my view is so much wider. And these are
Hmm.
all the things that are out there for me to actually go out and capture.
So much more opportunities now. So
This
much
is
more.
it. I
Yeah,
mean, tunnel, you see me, but that's all you do is see me. You know what I'm saying?
that's true.
Vision is wide open. And so that's what we're trying to do is we're trying to give people that view and that access to all of these people. That's not this. This is confining. I mean, this right here is confining. You know what I'm saying?
100%. 100%. When you're wider, more experience, more opportunities, more people you can meet, different, different connections, so much more. And
Exactly.
at the end of the day, like it's important, right? And even just touching back on like the mentor part, like we this is, I think, one of the main parts of this video, or main focus on this video, is how important it is to invest in yourself. And even if we look at history and some of the most successful people in the world, they all had mentors, right? Like Kobe Bryant had Jordan, whether they had like Phil Jackson, Jordan had Phil Jackson, different mentors. It is so important to actually like, go ahead and get expert help, even instead of trying to figure it out.
And one of the things that when we talk about that, we talk about talent. I mean, so, we talked about people like, I mean, people may or may not like somebody like just said Dennis Rodman. Okay.
Mhm.
And, Dennis Rodman was, a talented person, but in the wrong hands could have been detrimental. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? Great
100%.
talent, a lot of good things going on, but you see the evolution of his career. Even when Jordan came out, Jordan wasn't, he was good in high school, but he wasn't great. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? So it's the evolution of you being with the right people help develop you. You may have this kind of goes back to what I was telling you about my high school. We had the most talented
Most
kids.
talented people, right, but just nothing.
We couldn't win
No.
the championship. You know why?
Mhm.
Because we didn't have the right coaching. We didn't have the right mentors. And
Mhm.
so, no matter how much talent you may have, if you're not placed and you're not in the right environment with the right people, with the right
Mhm.
coach, you're not going to grow. It's like a flower, it's a tree, whatever else. I have a lot of friends that are in the cannabis business. You put a flower in the right environment with all the right nutrients, with the right oxygen, with the right air, the light, everything being done at the right time, it's going to grow. It's going to
Yeah,
grow at the right speed.
100%.
It's going to produce the most beautiful product that you can ever have, but in the wrong environment, not fed right, not with the right energy, right? It can go to shit real quick, man. And so
100%.
and so that's
100%.
what we're in this cultivation business, and getting with the wrong people will throw good money at a bad thing. You know what I'm saying? And so
100%.
you get with the right people, you start that connection. And so for me, one of the biggest things that I learned is when I realized that lending, because lending is my primary business. I don't talk about it a lot because it's crazy because all of my business comes to me through word of mouth, and I don't advertise for it. And
Mhm.
people, they know me about real estate. They don't know about, I mean, they know, yeah, go to Mack to get money, but I don't talk about it, which is the craziest thing because it's really where my income comes from.
Mhm.
Uh, but when it comes to lending money to people, I used to go out and I would ask somebody, listen, I think I have a fail-safe process for you to, if you give me your money, I can give you a great return on your investment,
Mhm.
20, 30% on your investment if you just invest with me. Because what I needed to do is there's all of these people out there that need to buy investment properties. They want to buy investment properties. When I say they need to, the reason I say they need to, they may think that they just want to, but I say they need to because they need another source of income. They
Yeah,
need another source of income.
100%.
So when we talked about those statistics that we talked about, they actually need it. They may say that they want to do it. No, you need to do this.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
So all of these people come to me and they want money, and I don't have enough money to fund all of these people. So I'll go to those people who actually have money and say, listen, let me give you 20% return on your investment. I'll even give you 30%. They're like, Mac, you can't give me, how in the hell can you give me a 30% return on my investment? If you're only charging these people X amount of dollars, X amount of
Mhm.
dollars. So I mean, and so my average interest rate, just say totally, is about 18%. It may seem like a lot of money, but long story short, when it comes down to it, it gives somebody an opportunity to make money. So this gets back into the math of cash on cash return on investments. If you're putting out $10,000 a year and you actually get your $10,000 back plus another 10,000 or 15 or $20,000 off of 10 grand, your return on investment may be 300% if you only put out 10 and you got 30 back.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So what I was doing is I was asking all these people for money so I could actually loan money out to people. And they were like, Mac, it's too risky. And I'm saying, well, listen, you have your money in the bank and you're earning 1 or 2% return. I mean, and I don't know, Splashman, if you have money in the bank or not, but if you have money in the bank, you're only earning 1% return on your investment, or two with that money just sitting in the bank. You're
Or
not
it's
earning,
losing value because of inflation.
you're basically losing value. So
Literally.
So if you actually if you're an individual that has net worth and you actually have money sitting in the bank, you're losing money. Give me the money, let me invest it out there in the market and you can get, and so the thing is that I was actually selling my notes. So just say the reason that I was able to do it is because I sell my notes to the market, meaning that when I get a note for 18%, I may sell it to you, Splashman, I may sell it to you for 14%. So I make a little bit of money on top of it, and I'm getting my funds back to go lend to the next person. Okay, and you
Mhm.
may say, well, so just say if I'm getting 4% from you, and then the next person I get 4% and 4%. I mean, in a given month, I can get 16% every week on that. Excuse me, once a month. So I get 16% a month. So if I was going to pay you 30% over a year, and I'm getting 16% a month,
Month. Oh my God.
so it's easy for me to be able to do that because I'm selling my notes to the open market. And I don't educate people on the full process of lending or whatever else. I'm offering them an opportunity to earn more money, 30 times what they would have had in the bank, but they didn't believe that I could do it consistently. So I almost had to lie to people and say, listen, I'll give you a 10% return on your investment because that seems more credible to people.
More reasonable too.
Yeah,
Doesn't sound too good to be true.
right. It's too good to be true. So basically, even though I was trying to give people more,
You're down.
they,
You're down something.
I had to tell them that, okay, they feel more comfortable. To be honest, they feel more comfortable with 8 to 10%. And
Wow.
so I'm like, all right, well, I'm gonna take that extra 20 and put back in my pocket because you don't want it. I
Yeah,
mean,
you don't believe it's possible. Hey, listen,
and
it's
so
okay.
those are the things out there where even when you're out there educating people, they don't even sometimes even believe it. And so
Yeah, man, it's
that's
crazy.
right. And so the biggest thing at that point in time, man, was I started just to use my own money. I invested more money into myself. I took money out of my 401k. Remember, I worked 20 years in corporate America. I built up a very, very, very healthy 401k plan. I put all my money out. So not only that, I found a way to be able to pull all of that money out that's not taxable and put it into a vehicle that allows me to be able to use that money today as a vehicle now. Of course, all the money has to go back in there, but now it's accumulated so much greater.
Mhm.
And actually, so I was making, so on average, most people make 5 to 7% return in the stock market from year to year. You may have good years, you may have bull years, and you may have bear years, but over the life of excuse me, it always averages to 5 to 7%. But anyway, I found a way to be able to use that money and to be able to invest. And so now, as long as I have a note buyer, my process just works and works and works. It's a rinse and repeat operation. But the thing is that I had to find somebody who would buy notes, and so I never gave up. And so with that network, this is what I'm talking about, the network, from being here to being expansive. My network led me from one person to one person that they couldn't do it, but couldn't, and the next person couldn't do it, and the next person couldn't do it, and the next person couldn't do it. But I eventually found somebody who could get me a note buyer. And so that means that with a million, so if you can imagine with $1 million, basically that $1 million portfolio, if you turn $1 million over every week, and
Mhm.
there's So theoretically, if I was doing $1 million worth of loans a week, I would need $52 million in my portfolio to be able to do it. And I don't have $52 million. If I have a million though, and I got somebody who buys my notes every week,
Yeah.
now, now I have $52 million off of
Hmm.
what, you know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
if I'm just say 1% off of that money, then that's $520,000, or whatever else. So it's it starts to, per week. I mean, so when you start to do the cumulative process, it's like, okay, well, how is Mac doing all of this with he must have a ton of money. And so it's not really a function of a ton of money. It's being able to understand how money works. And so
Hmm.
that's the key to it, is how does money actually work. And that's part of how we educate people on what you do and how systems works and how these processes work, where you may not have everything that you need up front, but we work you towards getting to what you need and how to go about getting what you need. And
Got
so
you.
it's
Got you.
it's just the education process, and it takes time. And if you're doing it by yourself and you don't have the network or the mentorship, it's almost impossible.
Like we talked about, you probably lose a lot of money in the long term where you could have just invested that, learn from someone like you
Yeah,
who's an expert, who's done it multiple times, and
yeah.
is also, like who has the success that you're looking for, right? At the end of the day.
I
And
mean, so the thing is you're paying for access and you're paying for knowledge,
I would
and so
also say accountability too. I think that's a
oh,
big part. I think that's the when I invest in someone, I think that's a big thing as well as like accountability is there, like I have to take it seriously because I just paid you a lot of money. Or and also you're gonna, since I invested with you, you're gonna ask me, okay, are you doing this stuff? Or you know what I mean? And I think that is
exactly.
a secret sauce of actual like mentorships and courses and stuff like that, is the accountability part of it as well, not only just getting access to you.
Yeah, and I think, to be honest with you, I don't think people who don't pay for it, I don't think they take it as serious if they don't.
Oh, at all. At all. So I have a quick example. So, me being a nice guy, I've given my course to a lot of my personal friends, and I can check the logins for, the last time they logged into my course.
Yeah,
All of them, no bullshit, all of them, the day they join is the last time they logged in. So if they join in July, they haven't checked since July, right?
yeah,
Versus someone who scrapped his last dollar to finally get inside my course. His
yeah,
last login is today. Every day he's looking at it. Every
yeah,
day he's going. Every day he's working. And that's just
yeah,
something, another pattern I've seen with successful versus unsuccessful people. They just take it so much more seriously if you actually pay for it. That's why, like, if it's something serious for me, I pay for it. I just
yeah,
pay for it. You know
yeah.
what I mean? Just because I know I'll take it seriously too.
Yeah, absolutely. But so I use all of these things that I pay for as a tool to sharpen be in my toolbox. I mean, it's like the things that happen. Like there's certain things that, because I work from home, there's tools that I need to buy that certain people that they like. Well, we can buy this abbreviated version, or we can do this, or we can do that. And I'm like, yeah, but if you have to add two more steps into my process, your time and my time, I mean, you add up your time plus my time plus somebody else's time plus some, I mean, I've already lost. I've overpaid for it already. So just pay for the
100%.
shit and get it done. So
Yeah.
so it's taken care of, and we don't have to worry about that. We don't have to jury rig or try to do some type of MacGyver type stuff to make stuff work, when we know that there's a now, don't get me wrong, if we're trying to figure out what the best program is, I want them to figure out what the best program is. Where,
Yep.
we'll get to buy two programs to be one, or we just pay a little bit more and we get this program, and it's like, they're like, okay. And so I use but also at the same time, this is where we have a good team, where they tell me, well, Mac, yeah, we could buy this more expensive tool, but we only use one component of it, and it's so infrequent that it's, so we can use this in conjunction with this other one. But then once we start to grow our business and we get larger, it makes more sense. And that's when, you bring in those resources that you need. But for the most part, like I said, if I need to do it, and I know because I'm believing in my business, and I'm believing in what I'm doing, and I believe in the people that I'm working with. And if you're not believing and trusting in the people that you're working with, then you're working with the wrong people. You
100%.
know what I'm saying? And so I have to believe. It's just like you and I doing something together. if I'm constantly going to doubt or question what you're doing and what you're bringing to me, then it's not a good working relationship. And
At
even
all.
though you may be smart, and so this is the thing I tell everybody. So I have a lot of friends that kind of do some coaching and some teaching and all the rest of it. And a lot of times people look at us like, well, you guys are in the same business. How are you guys friends? I mean, or how do you guys deal with these working relationships? And I'm like, listen, somebody might like me better than they like him, or they might like him better than me, my teaching style or the way I talk or whatever else, and I may have, like I said, I told you before, there's a lot of people out there that I've actually taught,
Yeah.
and we collaborate with each other, and they're out there with maybe with a bigger program than I am or whatever else. I don't really care about that. And not only that, not only do I not care about that, I'll go on their channels or their Instagram lives or whatever else, because you know I want to help them. I want them to be successful. I mean, and
Yeah.
I'm
You talked about how much reciprocity has helped you. You just helping out people, just willing without getting nothing back. How much has always come back to you tenfold, right? At the end of the day, like you understand that, and plus, like just going back to you being friends with people that teach the same thing as you. You stay abundant. You'll know that, and
yeah,
at the end of the day, you guys all have the same goal: is to help people out, right? It's not a
yeah,
competition. At the end of the day, it's like you have the same goal, like right, and I
and that's
realized like even with my friends, like if we were actually to work together and help each other out, we would both grow so much faster than if I was to like get jealous of your success and then kind of try to stop you and I'm competing with you. It's like,
yeah,
it's actually why don't we just work together, grow this together, let's elevate
exactly.
together.
And so a lot of times I bring that up to people while we work together, but I believe also at the same time, I believe people believe that there's a fear of somebody may grow faster, or somebody that somebody's notoriety may be higher, or it may pull some money out of my pocket. But so one of the things that I always talk about, Splash Man, is that when we look at a pie, people think, okay, well, you have your slice, I got my slice, somebody else has their slice. And so they're like, well, shit, I want this whole pie for myself. And so what I tell people is, okay, if you want this whole pie for yourself, let's just make a bigger pie. you
Right.
know we can make this where there's enough, where if you were getting $100,000, just say you're still going to get your 100,000, but maybe us working together, now we're going to build a pie that's a $300,000 pie, that I'm getting 150, you're getting 150. And so
Right.
don't look at it as I'm taking a slice of your pie. Now maybe at the beginning there may be a divvying up for the greater good of the bigger pie at the end, but you gotta be able to look further. Remember, I always talk about begin with the end in mind. It's
Hmm.
not, my end is not to take what you have. My
Right.
end is to grow what you have and make it bigger, so all
Right.
of us can gain benefit from it. And so I believe that's what's important. It's about collaborating, growing pies, and it's not a competition. And I think
At
that's
all.
where a lot of people go wrong, is they believe that this program is better than that program or that. I'm like, no, if you want to go see it, you should go check it out. And if it gives you what you need, then
Go
you
for it.
go for it. Because I
Right.
want. There's a lot of smoke and mirrors out there, though. There are a lot of smoke and mirrors.
100%, 100%. So before we like wrap up this video, I also wanted one thing I love talking about is mindset, right?
Yeah,
Like that's a big thing because I really do believe that mindset is a big part of like people being successful because you like you said you can give someone you can give someone the black belt technique or the black belt action, but if they don't have the
yeah,
black belt mindset, they're not going to be
exactly.
able to do the same thing, right? So I kind of wanted to ask when you were some of the obstacles you went through, how you overcame them, the mindset you had, during that, and also basically like advice you would give to your younger self or even someone like me and people watching this who are, way younger than you, who have
Yeah,
less experience. Just
yeah.
I want it from a perspective of someone who's so much more experienced and has done it, has gone through, so much more than I have to yet to go through, you know what I mean? So I
Yeah.
would love for you to touch on that.
So I think the most important thing is when I talk about beginning with the end in mind, and you might say, well, what is the end in mind? Who thought that anybody could ever go out of space or to do the things that's being done today? We talked about being able to talk and see somebody on the telephone, let alone on a computer. Believe Number one, you got to believe in yourself. Okay.
100%.
Believe in yourself and know where you want to go. And you, when I say know where you want to go, you may not know the specific path, but you got to have goals. You got to set goals for yourself. What do you want? And I would say, don't, most people make monetary goals or possession material goals. I mean, if that's what you're driven by, then that's good. But remember, that's what happens when that's gone or somebody takes it from
Right?
you. But you know what I'm saying? It's not really about that. It's about that what keeps that fire burning inside of you. What,
The
you know,
candle
it's,
you're talking about, when you were doing real estate, keeping that burning, that fire inside of you, that drive.
and so for me, one of the biggest things in my life that kept me is that I wanted to make sure it wasn't about me. So most of the things that have fueled me wasn't about me. It wasn't about
Wow.
my success. It was about, hey, I want my mom to live a better life. I want my family to live a better life. I want us to have a sense that, for me, it's more important for me to have money and ability to do whatever I want to do than actually having a nice car in the driveway, or I mean, I have a nice house, I have a nice car. But those are the things that none of those things define me. Those things that are just those are just fruits of my labor. That I talk about when the guys came. I mean, we were in Orlando jet skiing and swimming and doing all of the stuff. And it's like I don't even go outside and do those things until people come over, because my life doesn't, I'm not surrounded. I mean, those things don't actually make me, I want to be able to share those things with people. Like people always like, well, why do you have two motorcycles? Why do you have two jet skis? Why do you have two bikes? The reason I always have two of everything is because when you're doing it alone,
It's not
it's just
fun.
not the same.
It gets lonely. It gets lonely.
It's lonely. It can be lonely at the top. So you
Yeah.
buy that for other people. You want other people to be able to see and to share. And those are one of the things that, when my friends would come visit me from different states and all the rest of it, and they see there's a different way of life. And so when you change your environment helps create and cultivate. We were just talking about that earlier. It helps cultivate where you are. Get yourself out of a non-productive environment. Get
Hmm.
yourself around people who are doing things that want to excel, that want a collaborative process. You don't want to be around people. Now, don't get me wrong, the competition helps fuel, but too much of it brings you down, where you
Yeah, it does.
constantly look over your back. You want to be around people who want you to be successful, who want you to succeed. And sometimes when you have a mentor and you actually pay for it, you're not worried about somebody who's next to you trying to sabotage you, or so, because your mentor wants to see you succeed.
Yeah, they want to see you succeed at the end of
They
the day.
want to see
Exactly.
this because that is their reflection in the mirror of what they see. Seeing you succeed actually makes this person actually feel better. It makes you feel better, and it all works together. So
Yeah.
put yourself in an environment around people who want to see you succeed. Now it may cost you time, it may cost you money, but those things are really help building your foundation up. And so, when you say people who like me have gone through multiple years of martial arts with nicks, bruises, I pay money to go get abused every day. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But it feeds my mind, it feeds my body, it feeds me the strength to keep going on, to know that. And so, but what it does, it puts me in an environment that no matter what happens to me, I can deal with whether or not they have a gun, they have a stick, they have fists, there's more than one. It doesn't matter. I'm training my mind. I had to spend money and I spent physical abuse to get that situation to prepare me for the situation that's real life that I have the answers for. And
Hmm.
so that's kind of when you go through that process with that mindset that you're preparing your body and your mind for success. That's all I'm
Right.
preparing myself for. Is to keep myself, my success is different for different situations. Martial arts is the training of body and mind to keep me healthy. I mean, I'm a 51-year-old person. I mean,
You look
I
nothing like it. I'm telling you, mid 30s at max.
and
I would
so,
think.
well, I mean, I appreciate that, but so I train my mind and my body to be successful. That situation may be to keep me and my family alive. The next situation in business may be to get a good deal that actually brings, maybe neighborhoods together, or people together, or contractors together, or maybe it may form a new business relationship that may lead to something else. So you're constantly preparing yourself for the future. And that's what I say. Don't rest on your yesterday's accomplishments.
Yeah,
What are
right.
what are you going to do today? And so what we find out, and I'll keep it. We find out a lot of times when people gain success, they slide back. And the reason they slide back when they get success, those people who are, I would say, those people who are not trained. Like, remember I told you at the beginning that there's people who are successful and they don't pay for the courses, they don't get the education. Those people, when they gain success, they slide back because they have not developed that process where they have to keep things going. It's always, you always want to climb, you always want to do better. Those people who slide back typically are people who got it by fluke. They didn't work hard for it, and they fall back because they've gotten further than they ever have. So when you're constantly striding and you get better, you typically don't fall back. You like, okay, I got
Because you have the solid foundations as well, there, and that's the thing. I think when you slide back, there's no foundation to really help you bring it forward. You have no option but to slide back, right?
You have no option but to slide back. But when you're constantly climbing, when you go to slide back, you're not going to slide back because you got your foundation to keep you. Those people who slide back, and so that's why I keep saying you built that solid foundation, a process, and so you keep moving forward. And so I think it's so important that you keep your solid foundation, you keep your solid people, you keep your network, and you keep yourself growing, you keep learning. And that helps build your mind. And when we talk about mindset, that's where it comes in. And you surround yourself by your environment, your training, your learning, and you're constantly moving forward versus sliding backwards.
100%. One thing that I love that you pointed out, and it's crazy because I went through that last year, is not being motivated by money. Because even a lot of people watching right now, starting out, they'll be like, what do you mean you're not motivated by my money? Because right now they're at a point where, that is the thing, right? Like they want money. That's the thing that's motivating me. I'm motivating them. I remember like last year I came to a point where, I was 19 or 18 then. I don't really need much. I just like traveling occasionally and eating good food. You don't need to make that much as an 18-year-old. You don't have that much to do that. So I actually got to a point, like you said, where I was getting comfortable and I was sliding back where, I didn't know, like, I'm like, why am I even working hard? Like, what's the point, right? And so, just like you, I had to shift my focus and I had to shift my mind and my goals towards like something bigger than me. And that was for me, like same family, like now every day, like, I mean, I'm good. Like, I live, I eat good food. I'm living in a nice place. Now my focus is all right. Like, family, make sure they're right. And then after that's done, then I'll have to think about the new thing that drives me, new goal in my mind, new, visions and such like that. So that was awesome that you touched on that, because I think that's a point that a lot of people will kind of have to go through, or like mentally, or have a moment where they get in that position where it's like money's not motivating them no more. They have to find a, different different thing driving them. So that's why I thought it was like a really, really, good thing that you even mentioned that. That was awesome.
But I think the one part about that is when you have a good system set up and a good process, money becomes not the issue. So right now people want money because they don't have it. And so when you don't have the right processes and the right things in place, it's all you think about.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And so your focus is not really on money because once you start doing the right things and you put yourself in the right situations around the right people, the money comes. And so now it's about building a better mousetrap, a better process, a better plan. How do you grow and how do you get those people? Because now you have what you need. Now it's like, now you got to bring in other people now. And it creates that generational wealth. So now the issues that you're having, that your kids don't have to go through it and their kids don't. And so that's why you create all of this stuff for your immediate circle and those that cascade down from that. So, I mean, this is great topics that we talk about. It's so much. I mean, we want to make sure that people are taken care of financially, but it starts here. It starts
right, 100%. I think
once you have that millionaire mindset, and it's not even, you may not have millions in your pockets. You may only make hundreds of thousands or tens of thousands, but you got to have the $1 million mindset.
100%.
Because it's a building block.
So you don't slide back. You have that foundation where you're not slipping. You know what I mean? I 100% agree on that. But I guess, before we wrap this video up, please go ahead, plug your social media, and also where they can learn from you directly, work with you if they want to actually learn. Because that's the one thing we really talked about, is having mentors, right? So if they actually want to get mentored by you or they want to get in touch with you, where are some good places to go?
So most definitely they can always reach me at my Instagram, which is Mack Major
All of
underscore.
this will be down in the description, by the way, too. So yeah.
Yeah, it's Mack Major underscore REI. So my lending business is housetour.com. So once you reach me on those two, I have a Facebook, Mack Major REI as well. So me and my staff, we always, take all questions. And you got anything that you guys need to know about real estate, life, Splashman and I, you'll see a lot of us in the future.
100%. It's just one of many. You know what I mean? We're going to have to do an in-person meeting very soon, too, after all this is over.
Absolutely. So anything you guys need, please, Splashman, I appreciate the opportunity to be on with
100%.
you, to share, and I look forward to working with you guys in the future.
100%, 100%. So that is it for this video, guys. I really hope you enjoyed it. Like you said, follow his Instagram. I'm gonna put everything in the description. Definitely go check him out. Definitely go, follow him on Instagram and let him know that you came through this video. And yeah, anything else to add on before we go?
I'm good. I'm good. Everybody,
Awesome.
listen, one thing I want to say is take care of yourself. There's a lot of stuff going on in the world. Stay positive. Remember, the things that you do today, you might pay for later. So I would say right now is a good time for everybody to stay in, get educated. This is a perfect opportunity to get educated on all of those topics that you want, instead of just looking through stuff that really don't actually bring value to you. Now invest in yourself. This is the perfect time to invest in yourself. So once we are able to get out there and really start moving around, now you got all your tools in place to go out there and take over the world.
100%. That was awesome. Thank you so much again for being on. And yeah, everybody, I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.